If you're a green card holder who travels internationally, even if it's only once a year, this update directly affects you in ways that many people still do not fully understand. Starting in 2026, the Department of Homeland Security is enforcing a new reentry framework that fundamentally changes what can happen the moment you land at a U.S. airport. This is not speculation, it is not rumor, and it is not social media panic designed to generate clicks. This is a confirmed enforcement shift by DHS and U.S. Customs and Border Protection that can lead to secondary inspection, hours of questioning, formal abandonment determinations, or even denial of reentry for lawful permanent residents who are not prepared. Many green card holders have lived for years under the belief that as long as the card itself is valid, reentry into the United States is guaranteed. In 2026, that assumption becomes risky. DHS has confirmed stricter scrutiny based on travel history, time spent outside the United States, and proof of ongoing U.S. ties. For many people, this may be the most important immigration update they will hear this year, because understanding it now can prevent devastating surprises later. Welcome to Alex Morgan, a channel dedicated to calm, clear, fact-based immigration updates designed to help you protect your legal status and your future in the United States. This channel does not exist to create fear or panic. It exists to create preparation. Every update here focuses on real enforcement, real policy, and real-world impact on immigrants, green card holders, visa holders, and U.S. families. Immigration rules do not exist only on paper. They affect real lives, real jobs, real travel plans, and real families. Missing even one detail in today's update could mean missing a step that protects your green card. If you rely on lawful permanent resident status, this video is meant to help you understand what is changing, why it matters, and what actions you can take now to stay protected under the new DHS enforcement framework. For most people, a green card is not just an immigration document. It represents stability, security, and belonging. It often comes after years of waiting, thousands of dollars in legal and filing fees, and enormous personal sacrifice. So when green card holders hear phrases like stricter enforcement or denial of reentry, fear is a natural response. Many people immediately begin asking themselves, what would happen if they were stopped at the airport, if they were stuck outside the United States, or if they lost everything they worked so hard to build? These fears are real and understandable. Family separation, job loss, housing instability, and legal uncertainty are not abstract risks when immigration rules shift. But this update is not about panic. It is about preparation. DHS is not banning travel, and it is not canceling green cards overnight. Instead, it is changing how officers evaluate travel patterns and intent to reside permanently in the United States. When you understand the rules, document your ties properly, and travel strategically, safe international travel is still possible. Knowledge remains one of the strongest forms of protection available to immigrants. The Department of Homeland Security, in coordination with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, has officially confirmed a new green card reentry enforcement framework that begins rolling out in early 2026. Major news outlets, including Reuters, the Associated Press, and the Wall Street Journal, have reported on this update, confirming that it is a verified policy change rather than speculation. The central focus of this framework is how CBP officers determine whether a green card holder has abandoned permanent residence. Officers will now rely more heavily on comprehensive travel data, cumulative time spent outside the United States, and evidence of ongoing ties to U.S. life. This represents a significant shift away from uneven discretionary enforcement towards standardized, data-driven thresholds. DHS has emphasized that lawful permanent residence is based on actually living in the United States, not merely possessing a physical card. The new system is designed to identify long-term patterns that suggest a person may be residing elsewhere, even when individual trips appear short or routine. For decades, green card re-entry operated with substantial flexibility. As a general rule, if a green card holder remained outside the United States for less than 1 year, they were presumed to have maintained permanent residence. Trips longer than 1 year typically required a re-entry permit, and absences exceeding 2 years often resulted in loss of status. Although CBP officers always had the authority to question travelers, enforcement was inconsistent and often forgiving. Officers frequently accepted explanations involving family emergencies, overseas caregiving, or temporary employment abroad. Many green card holders traveled frequently without problems and assumed that as long as no single trip exceeded 1 year, their status was safe. That historical flexibility created a sense of security that no longer reflects reality. While the legal standards always allowed scrutiny, enforcement was uneven. DHS has now made clear that this era of informal flexibility is ending. One of the most important changes under the 2026 framework is the introduction of a strict 180-day scrutiny threshold. Any green card holder who has spent more than 180 consecutive days outside the United States will now be automatically flagged for enhanced review upon reentry. This means mandatory secondary inspection. During secondary inspection, CBP officers will examine full travel history, ask detailed questions about residence, employment, family ties, finances, and intent, and assess whether the individual continues to view the United States as their permanent home. Officers now have authority to make abandonment determinations at the port of entry. If they conclude that permanent residence has been abandoned, the traveler may be asked to voluntarily surrender their green card or be placed into removal proceedings before an immigration judge. This is not routine questioning. It is a high stakes review where preparation becomes essential. Even more impactful than the 180-day rule is the new 3-year travel ratio analysis. DHS and CBP are implementing an automated system that calculates how many days a green card holder spends inside versus outside the United States over a rolling 36-month period. If U.S. presence falls below 50% during that time, the individual may be flagged for scrutiny. This means that even if no single trip exceeds 6 months, frequent short trips can still create risk if the total time abroad outweighs time in the United States. This represents a major shift in enforcement philosophy. Previously, short trips were often viewed as safe. Under the new system, long-term patterns matter more than individual trips. Business owners, caregivers, retirees, and families with ties in multiple countries are particularly affected. To understand how these rules work in practice, consider real-world scenarios. A green card holder who spends most of their time living and working in the United States, pays taxes, maintains housing, and travels abroad occasionally for family reasons is far less likely to face problems. In contrast, someone who divides their life equally between countries, operates a business overseas, or spends more time abroad than in the United States may face serious scrutiny. Documentation becomes the deciding factor. Tax returns, leases, mortgages, employment letters, bank statements, utility bills, and evidence of family ties can determine whether a person is admitted smoothly or subjected to prolonged questioning. Since this update was confirmed, green card holders have asked whether international travel is still allowed. The answer is yes, but travel must now be intentional and strategic. The new rules do not prohibit travel, but they do scrutinize patterns that suggest residence outside the United States. DHS may consider family emergencies, such as caring for a critically ill parent, but the burden of proof rests entirely on the traveler. Medical records, hospital letters, and official documentation are essential. Overseas work assignments are only valid in limited situations, particularly when connected to a U.S. employer. Independent or foreign-based employment raises higher risk. Re-entry permits remain useful, but they do not guarantee admission. A permit provides time, not immunity. Under the 2026 framework, re-entry permits still allow extended stays abroad without automatic loss of status, but CBP officers will continue to evaluate genuine U.S. ties. Officers may examine where you live, where you work, where you pay taxes, and where your family resides. This means a re-entry permit should be viewed as one tool among many, not a shield against scrutiny. Strategy now matters more than paperwork alone. There are practical steps every green card holder should take. Reviewing your 3-year travel history is essential. Organizing proof of U.S. ties should be done before travel, not after problems arise. Applying early for re-entry permits if extended travel is anticipated can reduce risk. Consulting an immigration attorney becomes critical for anyone near the 50% threshold. Past smooth travel does not guarantee future outcomes. Real experiences already reflect this new reality. Long-term residents with decades of status have faced hours of questioning simply because their travel patterns triggered review. Those who were prepared with documentation and clarity were often admitted. Those who were unprepared faced severe stress and uncertainty. DHS has made clear that this shift is long term and nationwide. Enforcement is becoming data driven, standardized, and consistent across ports of entry. What worked in the past may no longer work in 2026. Despite how serious this update sounds, it is important to understand that green card holders are not powerless. DHS has not eliminated lawful permanent residence. It has changed how commitment to living in the United States is evaluated. Knowledge is protection. Preparation is strength. Calm, informed planning is far more effective than fear. Those who adapt early will continue to travel with confidence. Those who ignore the shift risk life-changing consequences. If this video helped clarify the new green card reentry rules for 2026, support Alex Morgan by sharing it with others who may still be relying on outdated assumptions. Subscribe and enable notifications so you do not miss future DHS and CBP updates. Immigration enforcement evolves quickly, and staying informed is one of the strongest defenses available. Comment below and share your experiences because informed communities are stronger together. Everything discussed here is for general informational purposes only and not legal advice. Each case is unique, and if you have concerns about your travel history or risk level, consult a qualified immigration attorney. Thank you for trusting Alex Morgan with your time and your future. You worked too hard for your green card to lose it because of a rule you did not know about. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay confident.